Hey, what's up guys, Alex here. Thank you for checking this video and welcome to another episode on how to build a WordPress plugin from scratch. In this tutorial, we're going to take a look on how to actually make our activation and deactivation of all our settings and features in our plugin way more modular, way more manageable. Right now, what we have in the current version of our plugin, we just define a simple administration dashboard for our plugin where we can activate and deactivate all the features. This is great, but all these things, other than being saved in our custom WP options, are not doing anything. All these sections are not being updated. So what I want to do today, I want to create a controller class for the custom post type, hook it to the activation checkbox of the custom post type in the dashboard, and every time this is deactivated, the custom post type section shouldn't appear and the custom post type option shouldn't be available. When I activate it, of course, the custom post type section should be visible and all the options should activate automatically. So first of all, let's clean up a little bit our code. We have here inside the pages, the admin page. This is a really generic name that we should probably change, but of course you can call this however you want. I'm gonna rename this to dashboard because that's the actual dashboard of my plugin. And after we rename the class, because we are using Composer Autoload, we should rename also the file from admin to dashboard. That's perfect. And of course, update also the init file from pages to dashboard. If we go back in our site and we refresh, everything looks exactly the same. Nothing changed because we just updated a bunch of things, but that's perfect. Now let's create inside the base folder a new controller called custom post type controller.php. And let's always remember to use for the name of the file the Pascal case, so every single word capitalized. Let's copy a little bit of code from the enqueue because I'm lazy, I don't want to rewrite everything. So let's maintain the namespace to inc base and then inc base. Let's use the base controller and here let's name to custom post type controller. That's perfect. And let's close this controller because we don't want to leave it open. Fantastic. Now, like we did in every other controller, we need to define a public function called register because that's the method that we're accessing every time we trigger a new controller. And in the register method, I want to basically create the custom post type page and activate just a custom post type as an example, a really basic custom post type by writing the really few commands that are necessary to activate a custom post type. And you already know these things, we watched it and we saw it many times. So let's go super quickly. First, let's add an action to hook it to our init, and then inside here we need to point to an array, and the array of this class, and the method is activate. And here we can create a public function called activate, of course, and we don't need to pass anything to this function, but inside here we can just simply use the built-in method of WordPress to register a post type. We can specify the name of the post type, and in my case it's gonna be Alicat products and something like that. And then we can specify a list of arguments that right now we can define directly here as an array. We don't need to define any variables for it. It's gonna be like really quick and really easy. So let's open and close an array and let's define the labels. All the labels are of an array as usual, and inside here we can say that the name of my custom post type, it's equal to products, and then the singular name, it's gonna be equal or assigned as product. And then let's define a bunch of default variable that we need to actually use default attributes in order to make this work. So the public attribute is set to true, and then let's specify that this has an archive, and also the archive is set to true. Perfect. These are like all the basic requirements to register a post type. And this is just a test. This is just an example. We're not actually using this, but I need to register a post type to see if actually my custom post type things work. So if we save it, we go back in our front end, we refresh, nothing happens because we didn't hook that specific new class that we generated into our initialization array. So let's go back here and let's actually move all the base stuff above because I want to trigger first the base controller things. So let's put a comma, and we can also trigger the base / custom post type controller and include the class as well. Awesome. Let's save it. Let's go back in our front end. Let's refresh. And see, now we have the products custom post type that automatically was generated. That's perfect. The other thing that I want to do, I want to hook to this custom post type also the generation of the sub page, the CPT sub page in my AliCAD plugin administration area. So if you remember, we defined these inside the pages dashboard. Here we're calling the settings API interface that we built, and we're generating the sub pages here by passing to the settings API the array of subpage and then register. Well, because of the way we generated the settings API, we are lucky because we don't have to register everything all together here. We can also register the subpages whenever we want in other classes in different moments. So the thing that we can do here in the new custom post type class, we can basically just call the add sub pages method in the settings API and pass the pages that we want to generate. So let's do it. First, we need to call and include and use, also in this case, the settings API. That's perfect. Let's define the public subpages array that we are using here. Perfect. And in the register method, we can basically do exactly the same. We can activate a new instance of the settings API here. That's perfect. And then we can call a method, an identical method called these set subpages, which is, that's what we want. And then let's copy also these settings, but we can cut a bunch of things out. So these settings, we don't want to add pages, we don't want to add a subpage, we don't just want to add all the subpages inside these subpages method and call the register. So what we can do now from the dashboard, we can just cut the public function set subpages. So just for now, let's just copy it and let's just paste it here. And in the list of arrays, I want to just add the custom post type. So here I have my parent slug, that is the AliCAD plugin, is my main section that I generate in the dashboard. The page title is custom post type, menu title is CPT. That's okay. I mean, I could change it, but CPT manager, maybe I could call it. Manage options for the level of capability of the user, AliCAD CPT, that's perfect, and the callback, it goes to the callback admin CPT. So we need to include also the callback that we can simply grab from the dashboard. So here, let's check or let's copy the public callbacks. So it's publicly accessible everywhere as well. Fantastic. And then let's merge it to the, or let's initialize it and store it inside to the admin callbacks. And also here we need to include it, of course, we need to use it and require it, otherwise it won't work. So we need to call the admin callbacks. Awesome. So now if we try to check our backend and we refresh, nothing happens, but we're actually generated AliCAD custom post type pages twice because we are generated the subpage twice in two different classes. So let's simply deactivate the generation of the subpages in the dashboard area or in the dashboard file. So let's deactivate, let's clean this up a little bit. Let's deactivate the subpages. Let's deactivate these set subpages. Let's cut from this register line of the settings API the add subpages, and then we can comment completely the set subpages method. That's perfect. So this is something that I suggest you to do every time you're moving some methods from a class to another class. Just don't delete it completely. Just like comment it out, check if it works and if everything is in place. And then after that, when you're comfortable and confident and everything is okay, just do a commit and then just delete the code. Don't just like delete it out of the bat, because if something goes wrong and your computer turns off, you cannot go back. Of course, if you have Git, you can revert whatever you did, but it's always better to just comment it out. So let's refresh this page. Now we have AliCAD that nothing is happening. We don't have the custom post type or any other subpage because we didn't set up any subpage here, which is perfect. That's what we wanted. In the custom post type though, we are actually calling the settings API and we're adding the subpages. The problem is that this is not working because we cannot register a subpage to a main page that hasn't been defined yet. And we know that hasn't been defined because we're calling the custom post type controller before the generation of the dashboard. So before the generation of the main page. So let's revert that back and let's put the generation of the main page here, because this generates all the sections that we want to include and enqueue our file. So let's leave it like that. Let's save it. Let's go back in our admin area. Let's refresh. We still don't see the sub pages, even if we actually did everything right. The problem is inside our settings API, how we define our interface. Here in the register method that we're calling for our custom post type here, when we're calling the add sub pages register, we're checking in the settings API as a safety precaution. If the admin pages are not empty, we can trigger the generation of the add admin menu method that we want to create. The problem here is that we're calling from the custom post type only the method to add the sub pages. So only the sub pages have been populated and not the main pages in this new instance of the settings page. In a previous instance inside the dashboard, that it's a completely separated instance of this class, we are generating the main page, so the admin page. But here we're checking only if the admin pages have been defined. So here we had to slightly update the condition just a little bit and say that if the admin pages are not empty, or if this admin underscore sub pages are not empty, we can trigger the activation and the generation of the admin menu. So let's go back in our backend or our administration area. Let's refresh. And now we have dashboard and custom post type manager. That's fantastic. So now we have a class that automatically, when activated, generates the custom post type manager products and the custom post type manager subpage in our dashboard area. And just as a test, we want to go inside the init and let's just comment out the base custom post type controller class. So commenting that out will cause automatically the disappearing of the subsection, because we are not generating the custom post type manager sub page, and the actual custom post type manager. Perfect. So that's what we want to do today. We wanna, whenever we activate or deactivate this thing and we save our settings, activate or deactivate the custom post type manager class dynamically. So let's do it. First, let's go back to our previous state. Perfect. Let's deactivate everything and let's just activate the custom post type manager checkbox here. Perfect. So now what we have here, this should be active. So in order to do that, you can actually do it in many different ways. You can check if this is activated and not include the class, or exclude the class from the initializing array, or you can inject these class inside the get services method and inject it in the returned array or stuff like that. Like, you have really multiple options. Like, I updated this code many times, and every time I used a different option. There's one option that, in my opinion, that is the easiest one to manage and is the quickest one, and it doesn't create any issue of injecting an array or writing properly the class. So let's not touch the get services, so we still have the controller class. Even if this is deactivated, we want to have it here. But what we can do, and we can manage everything per class by class. When we access the custom post type here, let's do something that you should never do, but let's var dump the actual this manager, and then let's var dump the key of CPT manager. So let's see what we have here. If we refresh now, of course, we're going to have this var dump here, but yes, we have the string activate custom post type manager, that it's the actual value associated to this key. So now that we know we can access the custom post type manager key, we can actually do something really similar to what we're doing to activate and deactivate those checkboxes in our callbacks controller. So if we go in our manager callbacks, and here we are getting the option name that we know what it is Alicat plugin, and then we're checking if it's checked or not based on the name of the method that we know. The name of the key is CPT manager. So let's basically copy this thing. Let's go back in our custom post type controller, and let's have a bunch of these things. So here we can say that get option name is the Alicat plugin. Perfect. We can rename this variable, all the checkboxes variable. Let's rename it just like option. And here, instead of checked, we can rename it to activate. And with the activate, we can check if this option name is set as a custom post type manager, and we can simply return the actual option itself, because in this case, it doesn't matter if it's true or false. If it's true, it's gonna return true, otherwise it's gonna return false. So we don't have to do another check here. So now that we have these option and the activated has a true or false, so we can, just as a test, var dump this variable. Let's var dump this activate. Save it. Let's go back in our administration area. Let's refresh. Oh, we have an error. Sorry. Undefined variable activated. Sorry, it's activated, not activate. Let's refresh again. Perfect. The Boolean variable activated is true. If we uncheck this and we save these changes, the Boolean variable is false. Wonderful. So now that we have this super handy Boolean variable right here, what we can do, we can simply do an if statement that will interrupt the execution of this script of the register if the activated is false. So we can simply do if the $activated variable is not true, so exclamation mark, it means it's not set or it's not true, it's false, we can simply return this script. So we will interrupt the execution of whatever is after this if statement if activated is false. Let's go back in our administration area, let's refresh. There you go. We have the activate custom post type manager is unchecked, so it's false. We don't have the custom post type manager. We don't have the sub menu, but if we check this and we save these changes, look what happened. The changes have been saved. We have our custom post type products here and the sub menu custom post type manager that works perfectly. And of course, if we deactivate it again and we save the changes, everything disappears, which is fantastic. So some of you probably won't like this solution, but this is a really simple and easy solution that I found, and I pretty much use whenever I have to activate or deactivate something in a modular way and let the user activate something. I prefer to not tinker with the array here and maintain all my classes here and all the controllers always inside the full list of services. I don't want to inject or remove the one service if the user had deactivated those, and just simply interrupt whatever we have in the register if the user didn't activate the thing. And of course, you could also optimize this and put it into another method, maybe calling a method to just get the option, or put these getting the option inside the base controller and automatically returning that option as a unique key inside the base controller. But I feel like this is like really easy, really simple. It's just 3 lines of code. And of course, you can also just remove the curly brackets if you want in a new version of PHP, or just like put everything in line. Like if this is deactivated, let's return true. So if this is deactivated, let's exit, and will still work. So you can still optimize a little bit your code, but this way of writing, it's really, really simple and really easy. And you can just copy paste these in all the controllers and just simply change this CPT manager based on the type of manager that we're tapping and based on the type of key that we have in our list of managers. So that's pretty cool and that's pretty easy to use. It's not too complicated. So as a little homework before the next lesson is for you, basically we have this full list of managers inside our base controller, and the full list of managers is equal to all the sections and all the features that we want to activate and code in our website. So the homework for you is to generate a unique controller for all these single keys and just simply generate a subpage with that controller name. And then, of course, use this method to activate and deactivate that subpage or that specific controller based on the checkbox checked by the user. It's a little homework that is going to be really easy, especially if you follow this video and you build a custom post type controller. The methodology and the approach is exactly the same. So Let's do it. So it's pretty much it for today's lesson. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. And if you want, you can check the support me page of my website, where you can find all different ways and methods to support me, support my channel, and help me to do better videos and better tutorials for you. Thank you again, guys, and until the next lesson, as usual, happy coding!